Hello, this is Danny Lilker from Nuclear Assault, and you are listening to Collision on Voice FM.
You co-founded Anthrax. Was that like your first serious band, or had you been in something before that?
That was my first serious band. I'd been in a band just with kids in like summer camp doing like Van Halen and Led Zeppelin covers, because that's all there was to do back then. That wasn't a serious band. It was more hard rock. It wasn't really metal. Anthrax is definitely the first band that was a serious band that actually went on to go somewhere and, helped shape what I ended up doing in the future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess with you obviously left Anthrax pretty early, but when you look at what's happened to it, do you feel a sense of pride that you helped birth that band?
Sure. They went on to do stuff that was a little more melodic, and I went with Nuclear Assault, which was a little more intense, so that made sense. But, it was good to see them doing well, and to this day, if I'm talking to a quote-unquote normal person and they go, well, where would I know you from? If I say Anthrax, that was in the first Anthrax album, they're going to know that a lot more than Brutal Truth. So it makes a good reference point for random people.
Yeah. But anyway, it is at the moment all about Nuclear Assault. And you are coming to Australia next year in February. And it's only 3 shows. You've got Melbourne on the 22nd of February, Brisbane on the 23rd and Sydney on the 24th. But I'm actually quite shocked that Nuclear Assault has never made it to Australian shores. You're in a lot of bands. Have you toured Australia at all with any of your bands?
Yes, I have. I've been down with Brutal Truth a few times, and I've been down there vacationing once. But, I know it's, and I do apologize that Nuclear Assault is finally just making it down there right near the end of pretty much what we're doing as a band. But then again, it is fucking far. It's hard to do arranged and going to Europe or something like that. And then also logistically, there's certain countries that for Americans, like you guys, Japan, Brazil, for instance, you got to get a visa too. So then that's a whole nother little pain in the ass process. But, necessary and cool. But it's just between, being really far away and trying to find someone who's going to bring you down and be able to pay for the expensive flights and let you still go home with a couple of bucks and all that. It's just a bit of a difficult process, that's all.
Yeah. Brutal Truth actually broke up in 2014, and now you're calling an end to Nuclear Assault, but it does say that you're going to retire from full-time recording and touring. So what do you still plan to do, because you've got such a big list of band names that you're involved with?
Well, this is actually going to be one of the last things Brutal Truth is going to do. Australia was definitely something where it's on the bucket list. It would have been shit to just call the day completely and have never made it down there. So that was one thing we're just kind of scratching off the list after this. Yeah, the thing with me just retiring was not literally retiring, just scaling things down so I can just have a normal life already. The music I've played, I'm not in Metallica where we're multi-millionaires. You got to still jump in a van for a few hours. Well, not down there. Of course, you got to fly because this country is pretty big, just like ours. But the point being, just chilling out and not doing as much. Still haven't done playing in local bands. I'm not good at playing music. I'm just not getting out there as much. Dealing with airports and airlines has just become much worse than it was back in the day. Now it's more like the exception rather than the rule. If you get where you're going on time, lose all your shit and not be stressed. So that's, the airline industry is really taking a shit lately. And that could be super fucking stressful. You got to be at some festival in Germany or something, and you're not going to get out of the country, so you got to go back and try again the next day, and then you get no sleep on the plane because it's a crying baby, and then you got to get where you're going and hop in a van and go on stage 3 hours later, and you're fucking delirious. That shit I could just do without.
Yeah.
And some people might say, oh, poor babies, you have to go to Germany and play a festival, but when you have to experience it, you got to know what a fucking nail biter it could be sometimes.
And definitely, like, with how long you guys have been doing it too. I mean, sure, it's, to some people living a dream, but then it's also a job.
Yeah, people don't realize that if you book a show and you're playing a festival, as an example, you've made a contractual obligation with this promoter, and you're supposed to be there at this time to go on stage, and it would help, yes, if you got there the day before and you were well rested, so when you play in front of 15,000 people, you do your job well and you're not fucking half asleep. So, yeah, when you get fucked around to the airport and then you get conflicting information from the little app you have and the gate agents and the monitors, and it just gets really fucking stressful.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on? People don't see that side of it. They just think, oh, it's glamorous, going to different countries and playing and everything like that. But there's certain logistics that have to be fucking dealt with.
Yeah. Well, the music industry is glamorous for like 1 or 2 hours a night. The rest of the time, there's not much glamour in it.
Absolutely. You do a lot of sitting around and waiting to do shit.
Yeah, definitely. So then looking back over your career, because I'm assuming Nuclear Assault is your like number one band in your heart, but then you have done a lot of things with a lot of bands. Is there something that you like really treasure, a memory that you're so glad that you had that experience?
Well, there are a lot of high points with Nuclear Assault. I mean, it would be hard to kind of narrow it down that much. I guess maybe the first time we went to Japan in 1990, that was awesome. Getting the headline to Hammersmithodian was nice and prestigious. I'm really proud of releasing the Handle of Care record because I thought that was a band at the top of their game, and I'm really proud of it. Just shit like that. Accomplishments, things you can be proud of along the way.
Yeah.
You know, just talking to fans and realizing, you know, how much you inspire people, which is not like an ego trip, just more just kind of like, it's humbling in a way, you know, like, wow, you know, I caused you to pick up a bass or something like that, because I've heard that a lot, so,
yeah.
You know, just shit like that, feeling like whatever that you've made a difference.
Well, I'm wondering actually with the letting go process, with wrapping up Nuclear Assault, if that's inspiring you to want to write.
No, not really. I think we're past the actual creative stage of what we'd be doing now. I mean, the Nuclear Assault, I'm aware that, and for good reason, that most people are familiar and appreciate the stuff that we did in the 80s. And we did release a 4-song EP called Pounder recently. I mean, that wasn't that much, but we also have logistical issues where people live in different places. But no, the whole let it go part, it's, you know, it's kind of bittersweet because it can be really fun being out on the road and doing a bunch of traveling, but, you know, there's the downside of it. There's the shittiness of the airports I was talking about that I wouldn't miss. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I turned 52 last month, and I don't feel it, but it's just, yeah, you can't really do it forever if you want to do it right.
Yeah. I was going to ask then, the shows you're going to be doing in Australia, are they going to feature a lot of the 80s music, or are you going to try and feature everything?
We're mostly going to be focusing on the stuff that we're mostly known for, that most people are familiar with. So, yeah, I'm just for the nostalgia, too. We will be coming out, with the exception of one new song off the Pounder EP, not playing anything that was written after 1989, I believe. But that's where we were and what we were doing, and that's what we're going to play for people.
Right. This is the Nuclear Assault that Australian fans have been waiting to see for 30 years.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. It'll be like being in a time warp. I mean, as far as like our show, people shouldn't big fancy light show and ramps on stage or any crap like that. We basically just go out there in our t-shirts and thrash, and that works for us, and that's how it's always been. But besides that, yeah, musically, people should definitely enjoy it. If they like the bands, they're going to hear what they want to hear, I'll tell you that.
Well, Australians are well into just raw, powerful metal, and they don't need all the fancy stuff. They just need you and the music.
Exactly, yeah. Well, that's how it's always been.
Yeah. Is there some advice that you would give to a young band starting out these days? I know it's totally different to when you started, but is there something you'd tell them?
Basically, just stick to your guns and play what you want to play. I'm not really good in the advice department. I mean, I was never given any myself. We just kind of felt it out along the way. But be patient. Make sure you find people that you're going to be playing with, that you want to play with, that have the same, you know, musical influences. And, yeah, just most importantly, don't just play something because you think it's going to do well. You know, do what's in your heart and don't worry about, you know, if people are just playing music just to make as much money as possible and meet as many girls as possible. Well, let's just say, you know, that's not why I started playing music, so I can't relate to that.
Yeah. But Australia aren't going to be your final ever shows, are they? That you've got probably some more back in America after that.
There's nothing else booked at the moment.
So it could be the final send-off.
It possibly could. We're not sure. We're playing it by ear. Something else might come up that we might take or not. It's different now. People got jobs and families. We can't just jump out and do anything these days. There's other stuff to consider.
And as it says, you're semi-retired, so there's going to be some tours possibly that you jump on, and when you are, you're going to have a sense of freedom within it probably that you haven't had for a while.
Yeah, well, that's also nice too, just spreading stuff out now and just doing something now and then. You appreciate it more.
Yeah, definitely.
You're like, all right, yeah, it's going to be fun going somewhere. It's not like, oh, fuck, we have to do this for a month and there's like 20 flights involved. That can be a little oppressive.
Yeah. I will remind people it is February 22nd in Melbourne, the 23rd in Brisbane, the 24th in Sydney. The Nuclear Assault are playing in Australia, and the tickets are through hardlinemedia.net. So definitely grab hold of those, because there won't be any more shows added. That's it, the 3 shows, isn't it?
It's just those 3 shows. There's nothing else in that region or anything.
And you and John are the original members who are coming out, and then you have Nick Barker on drums, who's played with Cradle of Filth, Testament, and a few other decent bands. Yeah, well, Nick's an old friend of mine and a big Nuke fan, so when the situation arose that our original drummer, Glenn, couldn't really do stuff because he had some physical issues with his arm that he had to have a lot of operations on, then we spoke to Nick, and Nick was like, hell yeah. So and we have Eric on guitar. Eric Burke has been doing stuff with us mostly on, a little off. And we started doing stuff again in the early 2000s. But yeah, me and John would be the guys from the old records that people would know. So that's the best we can do now as far as having original members. So I hope that's cool. Yeah. And I'm looking, actually, it's kind of like you are going full circle, because your debut album was called Game Over, and you're saying goodbye playing music from that era. So it's kind of like, full circle, finishing off. Yeah, I never thought about that. Definitely closing the circle there. Yeah. But it took a long time, but I guess the game is finally over, Yeah. I will quickly tell people they can find you at facebook.com/assault page, or if they type in Nuclear Assault in the search, they will find you. Is there something that I haven't asked you that you want to say? No, not really. If I have a moment here, then I would just take this opportunity to express my appreciation to all the Australian Nuke fans. Thank you very much for your patience, and we're glad that we're finally going to be able to make it down there, and we won't let you down. So cheers, and see you soon. Yeah, and hopefully there'll be a big after party once the tour's done. I guess that won't be in Melbourne. That would have to be in Sydney. We'll have to follow you to Sydney. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the only shows we're going to be doing, so anybody who would be so disposed to hop on a plane and go to one of the other shows, then that would be awesome. Yeah. And it has been amazing to actually get to chat to you. You're welcome. And I look forward to seeing the show in February. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, it'll definitely be a good time, and we're looking forward to it. Yeah, hopefully we can catch up maybe closer to the date again, or when you're over here. And it has been very good to get to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, cheers. Come up and say hi when we're down there, and we'll see you then or something. Definitely. Have a good day. Okay, you too. Thanks. Bye. Bye-bye.